All right, guys, we are back, and then we are going over the second portion of chapter 14. And this is the last chapter for your next exam. That would be exam number 3. I hope I'm making some sense. Okay, anyhow, diencephalon, which is made up of hypothalamus, thalamus, and pineal gland. Pineal gland is responsible for your biological clock. They call it biological. It is still... There is a lot of research has been going on about pineal gland, and then right now still going on. For example, something quick about pineal gland. If you travel to if you travel to Europe or Asia, it is right now, let's say United States is day, it is night there. So your body, your brain is programmed to go to bed when you go over there and it's daytime there. That's why people who travel across the Atlantic, they have a hard time adjusting their sleep. I said it the best way. Pineal gland in horses has been tremendously researched, and people have studied that in horses. But anyhow, in second, third ventricle, hypothalamus integrating centers, and it has all of the functions of the hypothalamus controls the pituitary glands, which we will talk about it. The chapter after this chapter, I believe this is 14, 15, 16, chapter 16, we will talk about pituitary glands, and then of course hypothalamus comes into a picture. Here again, I brought that picture to show you guys where diencephalon is, okay? And they're showing you again, it's kind of misleading that they're showing you pituitary gland is part of the diencephalon. It is not. Pituitary gland embryologically came from different layer, but anyhow, those of you guys who take embryology later on. But that is, diencephalon only is made up of thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland, which is not shown in here. It's as big as a pea. Anyhow. Okay, then diencephalon continued thalamus, pineal gland secretes the hormone melatonin, which helps regulate daily rhythms. Then cerebellum, which is right here, that's possibly the second largest portion of your brain. At the end of a word in biology, you put L-U-M, it means small. So it's a small cerebrum under the occipital lobe. It separates from the brain and stem by fourth ventricle. Okay, primarily composed of white matter in a tree-like pattern called arbor vitae. Overlaying the white matter is a thin layer of gray matter that forms complex. I will just want to see what is important. Maintains postures and balance. Very good. Always really good. So your balance, most of your balance is on your cerebellum and your postures. Produces smooth, coordinated voluntary movement as well. Okay. So the brain stem, right? That's what we're going to talk about. Contains the midbrain pons. Oh, sorry, go back. Oh, brain stem. Oh, where are you? Right here. So it's made up of midbrain pons, medulla oblongata. Midbrain relay stations between the cerebellum and the spinal cord or cerebellum. Cerebrum, it's a relay station between cerebrum, right here, cerebellum, spinal cord, okay? Has reflex centers for visual, auditory, and tactile. Pons communicate between the cerebellum and the rest of central nervous system. With medulla oblongata regulates the breathing, very important. It comes back to it. It will come back. Reflex centers, coordinated head movement, and response to visual and auditory stimuli. Here again, that's we talked about this. Say the midbrain, where are the midbrain? Right here. Those those are the portions of the midbrain which are made up of midbrain, brainstem, which is made up of midbrain, made up of pons. All of this is pons. This is medulla oblongata right here, and spinal cord starts right here. Okay, brainstem medulla oblongata contains reflex centers for regulating the heartbeat. Yes, breathing. Yes, most important one. Breathing again, and vasoconstrictions, blood pressure. Contains reflex centers for vomiting, coughing, sneezing, hiccuping, and swallowing. Above the spinal cord contains tracts that ascends and descends between the spinal cord and higher brain. Okay, reticular formation, they call it RAS. Okay, important to know. And RAS is reticular activating system, major component which arouses the cerebrum and causes a person to be alert. And those of you who are going to go to psychology, you will be familiar with the RAS term a lot. Okay, they study it in psychology in tremendous amount. They talk about it. Can filter out unnecessary sensory stimuli, that is, they can study with TV on, general anesthetic suppressant, and so on. Here we go. That's what the RAS is right here. Radiates information and everything else, stimuli, into the rest of the brain. Okay, limbic system, that's another portion of the brain. It's deep inside of the brain. It's made up of amygdala and hippocampus. And amygdala is as big as a walnut in your brain. It creates a sensation of fear. That's one of the functions. And hippocampus, particular learning and memory. Here they are. They're showing you right here is amygdala and hippocampus right there. Okay, so they are portion. They're showing you is olfactory bulb, which is your sense of smell, olfactory tract here, and they're showing you hypothalamus right here, and then thalamus is right here, and corpus callosum. All of this is corpus callosum. So they're showing you the parts of the limbic system that is involved with the rest of all of the parts that they mentioned here. Okay, memory and learning, short-term memory, long-term memory, semantic memory, episodic memory, skill memory, all of those, which is important. You guys can kind of should know. And then here they are showing you the parts of the brain that are activated and long-term potentiation. You can study those in left hemisphere and right hemisphere of our brain. Remember, your brain is made up of two hemispheres, and he's listing for you which one is what. Summarize the function of the limbic system, make sure you know that, and so on and so forth. The peripheral nervous system, cranial nerves, arises from the brain. Yes, spinal nerves arises from the spinal cord, and ganglion, singular, ganglia is plural, collection of nerves, subbodies outside of the nervous system. So here is a nerve bundle that I was talking about a few times, and here they are, your PNS is cranial nerves. There are 12 of them, and spinal nerves that they come out of the spinal cord, and I guess next one is cranial nerve. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves coming out of your brain, okay? I'll show you a picture of it, and they give him a Roman number 1, number 2, that's what I mean by Roman number 3, number 4, number 5, that's what Roman number means. They call them, and they number based on that. Okay, here they are. Do not worry about them. I will not ask any question about it. But remember, when you go to anatomy or when you go to, it depends on your psychology class, they will ask you to know those. Okay, so it's up to you how much of it you want to know. Not for this class, I don't expect you to know those. Spinal nerves emerges from, spinal nerves emerges from either side of the spinal cord. There are 31 of them. Okay, those are the numbers. Yeah, you should know 12 of them. 12 of the cranial nerve and spinal nerve. There are 31 of them. And again, the rest is, please read them. Somatic system, we talked about that a little bit in the past. Reflex Art, I did talk about this, Reflex Art. And here is a picture when the nail goes into your hand, quickly remove your hand. Here's a sensory neuron, and here is the association neuron or interneuron is mentioning it. And then here is a motor neuron, goes to the muscle cells and tell the muscle cells to shake your hand, move your hand. There is nothing goes to the brain. Nothing goes to the brain. It goes from skin to spinal cord, back to skin, the muscles, okay, not to skin, to the muscles that they move hand. Okay, then later on the sensation and the pain, or gotta go get to ice or get Band-Aid, that information is analyzed in the brain. Okay, but immediately it's a reflex. So it's a reflex, that's what they call it. There are different, we have different reflexes in the body. So sneezing is a reflex, cough is a reflex, but it's not a reflex arc. Okay, I gave you in the past 3 different types of reflexes. The one that the doctor put the light in your eye, the doctor put a hammer in your knee, and then you put your hand on a hot stove or nail or something sharp and quickly remove your hand. Okay, sympathetic and parasympathetic, autonomic immune system. Autonomic nervous system is divided to sympathetic and parasympathetic. So we did talk about it, but let's talk about it a little bit more into detail. Most of the time, most cases, whatever sympathetic nervous system will do, the parasympathetic system counterbalance it. Okay, so there are many examples right here. You should study. Well, again, you go to anatomy, you go to psychology, again, depends what psychology classes you take. They do talk about sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. They're part of the autonomic nervous system. It means you do not have control over it, but they are being automatically done for you. So, and that's what happens. Somatic motor pathway, and then autoimmune pathway, sympathetic pathway, and parasympathetic pathway. They are being compared, okay, a little bit. The list can go on and on and on and on, but voluntarily, involuntarily, of course. Number of neurons per message is usually 1 for somatic motor pathway, and then for 2, in case of sympathetic is 2, parasympathetic is also 2. Location of motor fiber, most cranial nerves and all spinal nerves are somatic motor nerves, and from thoracic, thoracocolumnar, spinal nerves and cranial nerves are responsible for that. Okay, neurotransmitter is acetylcholine in case of somatic. In case of sympathetic is norepinephrine and acetylcholine for parasympathetic. Effectors, skeletal muscle mostly, and then here they are. That's probably the most important one that I would like you to know: the smooth muscle and cardiac muscles and glands, and for sympathetic nervous system and smooth muscle, cardiac muscles and glands and organs, same thing. So when there is a dilated muscle, it relaxes the muscle, for example, something like that. So we'll talk about. Most preganglionic fibers arise from, it tells you where sympathetic neurons and sympathetic neuron, and then here they are parasympathetic neurons, and what they are, that promotes digestion of food, slow heart rate, and sympathetic neuron is speeds of heart rate, and then slow down digestion of food and so on and so forth. Speed of heart rate, this is slow. Sympathetic is speeding of heart rate. Rest and digest for parasympathetic, and sympathetic is just go, 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 go. Not always, not all the time. If you go through the charts, you will see the differences between the two. Here they are. It's too small for my eyes to read some of them for you, but that's pretty much inhibits tears. For example, your sympathetic, and then stimulates tears. You see how they work opposite of each other. Parasympathetic stimulates tears, and then here inhibits tears. And it's pupil. When I was in school, I had to memorize these things. Oh my God, it's crazy. But anyhow, no, you guys don't have to know. Not for this class. You don't have to memorize them all. I had to. But anyhow, contrast cranial. So make sure you know those drugs. Now we are talking about drugs. Make sure you know the functions of these assadi-rad, the functions of these neurotransmitters. So these are most common neurotransmitters, and make sure you know their functions. I mentioned some of them, most of them already. So acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, sleeping, emotions, very important for those of you who are going to psychology, perceptions, and so on and so forth. Serotonin. And GABA is inhibitory. And then neuromodulators block the release of modified neuron, response to a neurotransmitter, substance P, and endorphins, and these are blocked release of beta blockers and so on and so forth. I don't know, I get into that. Drugs, common mode of drugs. Xanax, and then Valium, and you guys know those. Study them. Again, I'm not going to go over them, but make sure you study them. You at least understand them. If you have any question, please ask me in your review sessions. And then drug abuse, it talks about the reward circuits, and drug abuse, talking about addictions a little bit. It would be good that you understand the biology of it now, and then when you get to psychology classes, you have good knowledge of it, a good background of it. They get into more details of it. Acts as a depressant, alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. Increase the action of GABA. GABA is it's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So when you take alcohol, you lower down your guards in life, I guess. That's what they psychology say. You lower down your guards, and then you might do nasty things. Nicotine has other effects. It's a release dopamine, stimulates neurons to release dopamines, which promotes temporary sense of pleasure. Again, cocaine, crack, all of these, you guys, the meth, methamphetamine, the ecstasy, these are all ecstasy, these are drugs, heroin, anyhow. Make sure you study them. Marijuana, and then here is a table listing, summarizing it for you guys, what they are, and so on and so forth. All right, guys. This session did not take long, thank God, and then I'm done with this chapter.